Well, that seemed to work. Maybe. It looks like we have some level of. Oh, I can get the comments over here. I'm trying out a bunch of new shit today, so everybody bear with me if there isn't everybody. Oh, I can hit this button. Maybe, maybe not. Yes, there we go. Got it up to full screen. No, I need to get off of full screen. All right. Anyhow, technical mamba jahamba. Welcome to tonight's live stream. We have a special guest with us, Andrew Smircher of Combat Art Training. And we're here thanks to the generosity of Ammo Supply Warehouse, the sponsor of every live chat from now until the end of 2025. Woohoo! I know some of you are not very excited, but it was cool for me.
Bush is a good dude. I like too that he'll like hook you up and ship your stuff first if you're like, hey, I'm taking a class.
He's all right.
And I like companies that take classes.
Bro.
What's up, Adam, Rob, Rich, Max?
Aha, we're back. Okay. I had all kinds of freezing up issues. So people are saying stuff and I might have fucked up. What do we got here? All right. Yeah. Adam, Robert, Richard, Max. They let Max in. They'll let anybody in. Well, I was trying to get this so I could go live on Instagram while we were doing everything else, but that one's always a big pain in my dick. And tonight is no different. And we're not on Instagram, so I guess we'll get over that. But we do have shit to talk about. Max wants to know what we're talking about. I think we're going to talk about you, sir, coming up here. We might even mention me going down there, but the big talking point is you coming up here.
Yep. So coming up, was it? I think the first weekend of December, 7th and 8th.
That's only 2 weeks away.
Yep. We're gonna do Pistol Skills 1 and then Red Dot Pistol. So heavy on technique. And then my Red Dot Pistol class has stuff in it that I've not seen in any other Red Dot Pistol class. So I'm excited about it, especially for the guys that are already running Red Dots. And there's going to be some things in there that they have probably not seen, tested, or not aware of. So, and then...
Well, I'm looking forward to the both classes, but the Red Dot class so much that I went and bought a Red Dot for the class because the Red Dot that I own is on my son's pistol. So who's also gonna come take some class.
Yeah, and one of my goals is to convince you that you should carry a Red Dot on your pistol. We got a couple tests that we talked about doing specifically for one-handed stuff. But I think you'll see that you do like it.
Well, I'm putting my faith in you. I put money down to buy gear that I wasn't intending to buy. Now, mind you, I got the world's cheapest Red Dot. Well, maybe not the cheapest, but certainly a budget Red Dot because I needed it right now to get it on the gun and zeroed before class.
Yeah.
And I've been fucking super busy. So I was like, well, I can't wait until like 3 days before and hope to have time. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to buy the SIG one. It'll get me through. And then I'm actually looking at potentially buying the enclosed SIG. I think it's called the Romeo X. Don't hold me to that.
Does the EPS carry work on your gun?
It should. Yes, they have one that fits the RMRS footprint, but I don't remember. Is it the carry? Maybe I don't remember.
Yeah,
But
the
they
EPS carry they make for like a bunch of different types of guns. That might be a one to get.
I've had a number of Hollow Sun pistol red dots come through class that performed less than stellarly that I was willing to give somebody else a shot. And my personal 407K that's on my son's gun with the dot that's like this fucking big. I mean, it's huge. It's a 6 MOA because when I bought it, the choices were dot or circle dot. I didn't realize the dot was a different size. There was no circle around it. And I was like, I ain't paying $100 extra for a circle. I just want a dot. And I saved $100 and got a dot that's bigger than the circle.
Huh. I'm interested in seeing that. Because that's another thing that I actually want to experiment with more. It's mostly for when you're moving real fast, one-handed, and you lose the dot. And seeing which reticle appears better. Like Lewis is a big fan of the donut of death, using just the circle, the target. I've never performed bad with it, but I never felt good with it. I've always just felt better using just the dot. However, that's one of the downsides to a red dot in general is losing it in the window when you're moving one-handed. And I do think the donut's better for that. That huge ass circle that Primary Arms has. Yep. That's good for that.
I had that too. I think I gave that red dot away. So it was the Hollow Sun with the big Primary Arms circle around it and a chevron.
Yeah.
And so I have an astigmatism in my right eye that it does not have in my left eye. So I thought at first it was just my astigmatism, but then when I looked at it through my left eye, I was like, why does what should look like this look like the abbreviation for West Virginia? So I had some other folks look at it and they went, well, it's not as bad as that, but something ain't right about it. And I got frustrated with it. It was on a gun and I was going to try and work through it. And I lent the gun to somebody else and it came back on maximum brightness and the buttons had locked out the ability to use the buttons. And then I was like this close to smashing the red dot off the gun because I was like, I don't know how to unlock it. I didn't even know it was lockable. And it was so bright you couldn't see through the window. It was like somebody took a red headlamp and shined it at me from the top of my gun. So I had to like turn my head away from it to shoot. And I was like, that's it. I'm gonna break this motherfucker right off here. I think Fiore is like, oh bro, time out. He gets on there and pressing holes and up, left, right, whatever the fucking code is. He's like, there, it's unlocked and you can turn it down. Like, zzz, zzz. And I gave it away.
Yeah, the reticles, the color, all that is very much what works best for you. And I hate that phrase so much because it leads to people doing dumb shit or just not getting good at shit because it works best for them, But like when it comes to your eye, it doesn't
work for them either, but they don't know that.
Yeah, but like, yeah, one thing because you said it was so bright you couldn't even see through it. Green dots that from what I have seen kind of across the board, a green dot in low light is not good because you like what you could normally see without a white light, you can't see with the green dot. Or maybe because we're going to do some experimenting on that particular issue at your low light at your low light clinic. But that has been kind of a universal thing. The only thing I'm interested in is if like certain Trijicons are easier to see with a green dot. But overall, I just hate green dots. I just never liked them for anything, and I don't understand why people dig them so much.
They definitely seem brighter. Like I'm guessing on some optics. If you're living in the desert shooting in high noon and you got the super dark Oakleys on, like it's the answer to the fact that aim points are not visible in the desert with Oakleys on at max brightness. Like the Aim Point Pro or Comp M3s, like they just don't go bright enough.
Yeah, that can make sense. Yeah.
But otherwise, I think the red stands out to me better. I have both here in etched reticles, like the exact same optic, one with the red etched reticle and one with the green. And the red, it seems like it stands out better, even if it isn't as visibly bright. And I think that's just because red's such a artificial color. Like there's no red anywhere that isn't man-made. So
true. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, one of the other things is like the shape, like using like a donut, for instance, for me, I find it more distracting to my eye. It's harder to focus on the target unless it's just a little dot. But then that's a hard thing too, is you see way more motion with a dot, and that's the thing that your eye is naturally attracted to. So it also pulls you out of target focus unless you just get good at it. But that's the one I'm most used to. So we had Casey ask a question. I think he was asking, let's see, I'll just read it. So Andrew, since you have used the Glock 48 and the Glock 19, which one would you pick? Because I'm looking at buying one to put a red dot on. Glock 19. And you've got a Glock 19, so I would just get that thing. All right. You don't have to mill it, but like if you're set on a dot, then might as well mill it. It's kind of like if you buy an MOS Glock and the plate, like overall it costs more to do that than just to just get it milled, and the plate can break, and then you got two more sets of screws or two more screws going in, so now you've got more tolerances going on. Overall I prefer a milled instead of a plate.
Here's a question: is the 48 MOS, can you direct mount a cave footprint optic to it?
Possibly.
Because I know you can the micro dagger, because I got one of them somewhere around here.
An EPS carry should direct mount to it. You'd be good with that.
And then you'd still have a 15-round gun. It'd be nice and thin, super reliable. You could direct mount the smaller red dot right on top of it. I'd say go get the 48.
Well, one other consideration with it, I'm not saying that's a wrong answer, but I prefer, if I can, I'd want a cross bolt for how the optic mounts to it. So one big bolt going this way, clamping onto the gun, instead of two little ones going straight in, and you're less likely to you're not going to shear this one off, and it's just stronger overall. That's what I like, just from a durability standpoint.
Did you see they have a new SIG's got a new setup? I think it's coming out for currently it's on the Fuse. I saw an email, but it's the same system that in like the M17, where the bolts come in from underneath the slide and go into the optic instead of through the optic and into the slide.
No, I've not seen that. That sounds
cool. Apparently it allows them to use bigger bodied bolts.
Yeah,
they're like socket caps instead of countersunk. And there was like an animation just showing like the slide coming off and turning over, and then the two bolts going through it up into the optic. Now the only thing is the only optic that fits on it's something that they make, because it's got threaded holes in the bottom instead of pass through holes all the way through the top. But it looked pretty interesting. I'm glad to see that. Like when Aim Point came out with the Acro setup, and now with SIG doing this, that people have decided to try and find better mounting systems. I don't know if either one is better. I'm not making any claims to that, but at least companies are looking to make shit better instead of just sticking with, well, we've always done it this way.
Yeah. That's a really cool thing with the red dot pistols. There's a lot of innovation going on. Like, and one of the things I want to get my hands on eventually is an older thing, but the Unity Atom slide.
Yep.
But anytime I've seen one, it's not for sale anymore, and it's either $500 or $800 for.
Yep. Which is
like
just more than I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna do it.
I just really want, I like we were talking about the cheap Holostones before we started this. I want to put one of the 403s on a pistol, if anything else, to see how long it lasts. I'm very curious about that.
Well, and I don't have it here because it's Biggers currently has it, but Omega Arms makes a replacement plate for the Glock MOS for a 17 or 19 MOS, and it's a pick rail instead of bolt holes. And you could throw one on with like a low mount, or like the factory like cross bolt mount from that comes on like a 403.
Yeah.
And I happen to know the fella that owns Omega Arms, and I could probably get you hooked up, but you have to have an MOS Glock to put it on.
I got one. I think for like dudes that seriously shoot a lot, or for instructors, they should own an MOS, something with plates, so that they can mess around with new optics. You know,
because
like milled, you're married to it. It's fine if you just like are like, I'm set with this optic, and you might, you know, I recommend also having a training gun, because like I look at red dots on pistols as like it's gonna break eventually. Like you use it enough, you're going to. So like have one, make sure it's reliable, good setup, 0 to carry ammo, and just leave that gun loaded and don't fucking run the mileage up on it. Then take this other gun and destroy optics on top of that one.
Yep, that makes sense. With the 403, that idea, I remember back when dudes were putting T1s on Glock 17s, and the failure rate on those was at a straight up 100% failure rate. and I was like, how the fuck is this possible? And they were like, oh yeah, they all fail with like double-digit training days under them. So like 20, 30 days of training, and the T1s broke. And I was like, I don't understand. They're like, maybe this will help you. This was their clue. Lefties, their guns were lasting 2 to 3 times as long, and like in the hundreds of training days before they would break. And I was like, I don't understand. And so with the T1, the fucking battery knobs on the right side, and for a righty, that meant when it was in the holster, it hit everything. Like that was the part sticking out of off the side of it. It was the furthest thing from their body on the right side. For a lefty, it was pinched in between their body and the gun, so it was being protected. And most of them were getting that fucking knob sheared off while it was in the holster, like doorways and seat belts and that kind of shit.
Interesting.
And I was like, I had never even fucking thought of that. I was just like, oh, a T1 will solve all your problems, right? No. And if you really wanted a low mount T1, you could get somebody, not anyone I know, to machine the pick rail right out of a fucking Glock slide.
That might be a thing already. That would actually, yeah. I don't know if I really want to take it that far. I was definitely considering putting one of those like cheap dovetail pick rail mounts on airsoft guns, though, because right now I'm just doing epoxy. And epoxy and dovetail mount, which does work, but
certainly the recoil of an airsoft gun is much less violent.
Yeah.
We got the red dot. We're talking red dots. That's one of your 2 classes. What's the other one?
Pistol Skills 1, Pistol Cheat Codes, as you suggested.
Yes.
And it might just become called Pistol Cheat Codes in the future if you're watching this, but right now there's a transitional period at least. But yeah, so basically
there's a gay joke in there somewhere. Transitioning.
No. But yeah, that class is like, it just, there's I kind of gave people a taste of that class at the muster, which again, if you're listening, everyone should go to the muster. I'm gonna be at this next year. Like, it's fucking gonna be 2 days. And it was awesome. Anyways, I gave like a 1 hour sampler in there of stuff that I have in that class. But there's like some ways you can diagnose everything about your technique on a pistol. And, you know, it's like you can hit anything pressing the trigger slow, right? But then when we go on force on force, no one's fucking doing that. Like there might be a smooth press once in a while, you know, like I can remember a time when I should have done that and I probably would have hit because it was a hard shot and I had a fucking airsoft gun. So that makes it even harder. But it's like, you know, if you're going to the range and you're doing shit slow and hitting the target really well, it's like, okay, cool. But is that what you're going to do in real life? You're gonna move that trigger a lot faster, and well, you know, your technique needs to match that. So there's certain things about how we align the gun in our hand, not just for like managing recoil. You know, like because I'll ask people like, what do we use grip for? And they'll be like, manage recoil, and I'm like, okay, you mean the recoil like this? I'll shoot the gun like that, you know, with just thumb and trigger finger. I'm like, yeah, it's not real that much recoil. So it's more about how can we align stuff for presentation, for straighter trigger press. How exactly are we gripping the gun? Getting real autistic on that. I learned some good things from John Dufresne on that subject that I bring in for people, and also how can we like hold this gun so we're not like trying to manage recoil, but it's just like kind of just works for us, and it's actually overall much less fatiguing to do a whole day of shooting when you like understand these concepts and the gun's more working. You're working with the gun. You're not fighting the gun anymore. Cause that, you know, thinking about when I first started shooting and what I see from people, it's like, they're really struggling with it. And also I made this class as an augment to Carry Pistol 1, cause you know, that's a 2-day fighting class. And I talk like this much about how to shoot the gun in that class, you know, where it's more about the processes of, you know, like, what do I do for a reload and how do I clear malfunctions? How do I use cover? How do I shoot on the move? And, you know, and then we're doing tourniquet drills and 911 calls and shit in that class. So it's like, yes, but the hitting the target is super fucking important. And even though it's a small fraction, you know, it's not the most important thing. Like there's a lot of other really important things, but when you have that moment, you need to make it happen. And so basically that class is about learning how to work with the gun instead of against it, being able to diagnose technique. And it's a fun class because you're just, you know, learning how to shoot faster and more accurately. I like those classes, honestly. I think they're a blast.
Maybe what I will do for that class is I will shoot the whole thing left-handed so that you have a beginning neophyte shooter to work with.
I get those a lot though. There's some parts you gotta do.
But I wouldn't in action. I don't need to sit. I'll do it two-handed lefty. I'm sure I can figure out what that looks like.
So, and that's a funny one. I've played around with the idea, especially because like after training with you, I was like, okay, yes, I need to be ambidextrous, you know, and so for a short period of time, and this is before that even, I was like, okay, so if I switch to just left hand, like then I should later put two hands on the gun. Inevitably, no matter how many reps I had practiced, I would end up doing the thumb slicer grip because I'm used to this hand going around the gun like that.
Well, part of me thought, and I'm a huge fan of ambidexterity. And when I get the gun in my left hand and I'm like, oh, I should use this hand too. I'm like, well, then I'm just going to put it back the other way.
Yeah.
Like as long as this hand's free, I'm going to hold the gun correctly is what my mind says. And so I probably have, and I've shot, you know, maybe a few rounds in my life. For sure, I have not shot more than 50 rounds ever with a pistol, left-handed with two hands on the gun.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually, you know what? Yeah, try that. When I do the close your eyes and adjust your grip part, do that. I'm
I
interested
was looking
too.
to see if I had a fake gun laying around up here that I could hold on the screen and look like a dork, but I don't. And if you hold a real gun up, apparently YouTube just fucking nixes you right away.
No, like you'll get in trouble even for having a fucking Nerf gun. I've had that happen. Yeah. But and then
Fiore joined us. He's here. Zach Bush had stopped in.
What's up, guys? Yeah, Max, when he was down here, I basically put him through Pistol Skills 1, just him and I.
Well, he didn't mention that, so it must not be there. I'm just throwing him under this.
He made a video.
And then in between those two classes, I'm running a low light workshop. And if somebody signs up for either of your classes, they can take the low light workshop for, is it $50 off?
I don't remember how much it was. It's a good deal though.
Yeah, I think it's $50 off. And you have the code. So like when someone signs up for your class, you give them the code. So
yes,
that's
and
how you get it.
That reminds me, I have two guys I need to send the code to. If they're watching this, I have not forgotten about you. And you can text me right now.
Perfect. They should do
that. Max said, hey, it's Mike. Is that it's a joke?
Mark Fox popped in and he's calling us nerds. So he says the green winner tags are better than the yellow winner tags. So I got these little pins that say winner, and they're gray and yellow, like the patch used to be. Mm-hmm. Well, they come with a blue protective film over it that you peel off, so that the polished plastic of the pin is very shiny. And Mark just left his blue film on, so it made the yellow turn green, and he thinks that somehow. It's like those kids that buy the baseball cap and leave the tag on it and the sticker on the fucking bill that says MLB official product or like fucking, and their pants are down around their knees. And
that might be another one. So you're not a real dad till you've lost your mind over the thermostat, lost your mind over a drawer not closing, and then gotten mad at people leaving stickers on their hats.
All right, so that's you coming in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Pistol cheat codes. They can stay around for a low light workshop, and then red dot whiz bang pistol. Yeah. That red dot pistol. That's too tame of a name, so I'm going to call it red dot whiz bang mastery when I talk about it. But then, in addition, sometime then in February, I'm coming down to visit you, or March. It's March. Mm-hmm. And going to be there for like 2 weekends in a row.
Yes.
But fast forward to the spring.
Make YouTube videos.
That's what we hear. I have an update for the whole world on the making of the YouTube videos. So you're coming back up here in April.
Mm-hmm.
For it's actually going across the bottom of the screen as we speak.
Yes.
19, 20, and 21 April. Going to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Wait, or was that the death of Jesus? I don't remember which one is in Easter. But that you'll be up here during Easter. And we've got 3 individual force on force classes happening.
Yes.
All right. So what are they? What's the first one? That would be on the 19th.
All right. So first one, Proving Grounds pistol. So that is a force on force class where basically every kind of possible scenario of like you're both static, one person's moving, one person's static. You're both moving same direction, opposite and random, and one dude stacked behind cover, one dude's bounding cover. We try to create every scenario that could possibly be happening within the gunfight and let you fight it. And it's, originally the idea I had was a stress inoculation class. And it's funny too, because I was like, Gary, I got this great idea for a class. And you're like, yeah, we basically do that already. I was like, oh, why was it take us so long to meet?
That I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so similar to pistol diagnostics that you do. And Gary's going to be instructing with it too. So like if you got any drills you want to add into it, we'll do that. That's cool. And then so that's day one, and it's like, hey, you get to get in like 50 gunfights. So like in a day, you know. So it's like number one, stress inoculation is happening. Like you're gonna get better under stress because it's gonna be super stressful, but then you're gonna come out like able to handle that way fucking better. And you know, it's like even when we're doing the static, you know, draw one shot to the head, like guys miss on that because they get excited, even though it's a shot they can make any day of the week. They're trying to get theirs first, and sometimes they're like, fuck, dude, I didn't even see my sights on that. But that's a good thing to get done in that class and not at the gas station late at night and never see your family again. So there's Proving Grounds pistol, and that's, you know, it's straight up hard gunfighting all day. Killing Fields is the advanced follow-on to that. And so we've discussed some things already. Some things adding to it would be like stuff that you don't really have time for in Proving Grounds pistol, but like some team stuff, buddy team stuff, some car stuff, and just like looking deeper into the how on everything, trying to diagnose that. So basically just crafting the skills better, but under stress. That's the idea of that class. Then, and I'm so excited for this week, for that weekend. Then we're going to do the art of the bad guy. And this one's really cool because it's going to, there's going to be surprises that we've both been thinking about. That I won't mention on here, but just know there's going to be surprises, you know?
Yeah, they wouldn't really be surprises if we talked about them on the line.
But it'll be the basic layout to it is like, all right, you're the good guy, go over there where you can't hear it. And then, all right, now that he can't see what's going on here, you are the bad guy. You need to do this thing. Okay, so all those different crimes that there are, you know, will simulate doing that. And you get to come up with a plan as a bad guy, and you get to execute the plan. And the good guy gets to react to that. The bystanders are still there too. So also, there's kind of an ongoing rule with all this that if a bystander gets hit, and this starts out in Proving Grounds pistol, but if a bystander gets hit, he's going to give you a burst. Like, there's going to be consequences to that. But again, that is a great lesson to get in force on force training instead of in the real world.
So, since the art of the bad guy is because you personally, without any guest appearance by me, already have Proving Grounds sorted out, Killing Fields sorted out. Art of the bad guy is kind of a new new thing to the you know, track number 3 on the album. And so since that one is more collaborative than the previous two, because I'm gonna help with the teachy side of all 3 days. But the third day, since there is less pre-made structure to it, one of the things I thought about adding was, by the third day, you should get some level of punishment for schwacking a good guy that's worse than the other 2 days. So what I'm thinking about is, if a drill is finished and there are good guys or unknown guys, we should say, outside the interaction that have gotten hit, you can plank until they relieve you from the plank by giving you a burst.
Oh, God. I don't know. I want people to sign up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was just the thing I was thinking of, or not.
I said there would be surprises. God damn it. Well, the thing with it too, though, is like when I ran Proving Grounds at Tactical Response, there's only one time a bystander got hit. So it's like, and that's with like 1,000 rounds fired.
Yeah.
So that's pretty damn good.
Well, you had a competent set of students.
Yeah.
Because I have seen a lot of innocent bystanders get hit in gunfight diagnostics. Of course, they might have been lying about it and just said that so that they could make someone feel like shit.
Well, it's like when we do gunfight club here, I'll do drills on steel, like especially for like warm up stuff, or like I'm like, okay, this person's never done this sort of thing before, so we'll just take it a little bit easier in the beginning. But I've caught ricochets that I thought shot me.
Yeah, I've seen that happen too, especially if you're indoors, because those things tend to bounce off
Yeah.
a couple of things.
Yeah, I was like, who the fuck shot me? And I'm like looking at the person behind me, like, and they're like, no.
Well, I just this is live and as we're going. So we haven't talked about this. I don't think we've talked about this. Are we going to do a low light portion that weekend?
Man, I would really like to do that with killing fields. I'm down for it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And like we can, so we probably should.
Yeah, I'm down for that. That sounds good.
Yep, there we go. Just added it in. It's like adding a guitar solo to a song that we're making up or writing right now. We're writing the song and we just added a guitar solo.
Yeah, and it could be even simplified too. It doesn't have to be like strategic drills. It's just like, hey, there's a bunch of cover out there,
Yeah. There's I'm thinking given the small amount of force on force that people do, even smaller amount that they do running white lights in the dark, we probably won't even get an opportunity to dig as deep into it as you obviously could go, or probably as much as we'd like to go, because there's only going to be so many hours of darkness for us to work with. And I think there'd be a lot of, no pun intended, eye-opening things just by running the light.
Yeah.
In force on force.
Like the amount of times people forget they have a flashlight.
Yeah.
And how they like it'll be in their hand and just not getting used at all. It's the same shit, just like a dude missing a headshot 5 yards away. Yep. It's just like under stress, dude freak out and what do I do with my hands and stuff. I've done that.
Yeah, and I've seen guys like, oh, I like the neck index or chin index, whatever, and like, okay, and then they'll run a drill shooting a dude with an airsoft gun that lights up there the whole time, but he never pushes the button.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, you had that light aimed in the whole time, you never just turned it on. And they're like talking to me and they go like, look at it. Oh yeah. Like, yeah, maybe you were thinking about something else other than that light. Probably at some point you were thinking, I wish I could see better.
Man, this guy's so hard to see. Yeah, I needed to put night sights on my force on force guns. Like my brother and I were just like a little bit earlier outside shooting each other, and we were both like, yeah, it's like a lot of the time right now it's just kind of put the block over there and hopefully something's hidden, because we're not using white lights right now. Yep. When we're doing it, and it's like, man, and it can get so like, I'll use the word dynamic, because it's like I can see him here, and here, but like when he goes over to this other side, like he shot me like all up and down my side. I couldn't fucking see him. That's just, he's using cover, but it's also, it's dark, foggy, mask, and there's nothing in the background that I can distinguish him against.
Yep.
So it's like,
well, that is one advantage that the wonderful folks at XS Sights, like literally a week ago, hooked me up, hooked up Tremis Dynamics. We now have 10 airsoft guns that all have excess sights of some flavor on them. Actually, we have 9. The 10th one it shipped out today because when I was gathering up piles of free sights, I miscounted how many I had and how many guns needed them. So I ended up one short, but I talked to them on the phone today, and the last one's coming. That one's not a night sight. I actually had to argue my case here. They make a all black rear, fiber optic front. Like they just started doing that, and they only do it for Glocks, which worked out fine for me. And they're like, come on, man, like for force on force, a fiber optic is not going to be ideal. I said, I know, but so many people have fiber optics on their carry guns because they're very nice in a bright sunny day when you're just standing there shooting. I said, I want to show them how much that sucks force on force. So send me the fiber optic. So I got one fiber optic, and then we have like the set of their minimalist sights, the R3Ds, F8s, and big dots that are yellow, big dots that are orange, big dots that are white, big dots that are green, and most of them have tritium in the back too, and one of them has no tritium in the back because they sell that as an option. So basically we've got the whole smorgasbord of excess sights on all the airsoft guns, so that people don't have to use the stock shitty Glock
that are pushing out when you pull the gun out of the box.
Yes, I actually, when I put these in, I used copious amounts of red Loctite on the rear dovetail and on the front. Like I smeared it on before I set the sight down, so it's like a bedding compound, and it's on the screw that holds it in place.
Nice. You got TJ asked, do you have red dots on your airsoft guns? I got one. You can accomplish it by buying just a $30 plate off Amazon and put epoxy on, like scratch it up, so that it'll work. And I just use epoxy from Harbor Freight, and it's been sitting on there just fine. It's been cycling, but I just took a cheap $30 dovetail mount off Amazon, and I use that. And like we were talking about earlier too, with using a Picatinny dovetail mount. Another way I was thinking about doing it was use a Picatinny dovetail mount, epoxy, and I was thinking about trying out a Bushnell TRS 25 because those are like under $80 sometimes, and yeah, why not?
At some point, you might find that if you get heavy enough on an optic, that an airsoft gun will start to choke.
Probably, yeah. It's working with the open emitter Holosun right now.
Yeah. So Cowabunga the Hun, what a great name, by the way.
You should see his Instagram.
He quotes me with, send me one of your fiber optic sites for free so I can show future customers why they shouldn't buy them. Yep, that's why I had to argue my case. Like they were really like, can't we send you something that we think will excel at what you're using it for? And I was like, yeah, we could. But instead, we're going with the fiber optic. The good news is, if really it gets enough poor reviews that you can't see a fiber optic, it's the same rear from their minimalist set, so I can just get a new front for it and swap it back out at a future date.
Yeah. Now with talking about airsoft gear too, for the guys that are really serious about it. Like I've burned through almost a full bottle of BBs this week. It's like every morning I just get up, work out, and then practice shooting on the move. And I've been trying to get much better at left-handed, specifically. So if you invest in a Toki Marui MWS, the gas M4, and then just put a red dot on it, like it will be worth it. And there's a couple parts you want to change on the inside after you get, so you can run it with green gas instead of the really light gas that the Japanese use. But like I've been shooting the fuck out of mine, and I'm seeing really good benefits. The only downside, I need to shoot more paper because it's like the BB takes a little while to hit the steel, and so I find myself waiting on hearing a ping before I shoot again. So I need to do more on paper so I don't worry about that. but like I've been seeing it paying off like a lot. So I think, man, and the other thing, it makes dry practice fun because now it's actually doing something.
Yep.
And the recoil's not like bad, but like the gun shakes and moves enough that it does actually do a good simulation, in my opinion.
Well, I think the recoil on an AR, on a real AR, is so minimal.
Yeah.
That because you don't ever like lose the target through the optic, which isn't necessarily the case with a pistol, because a pistol, like when it comes back, the barrel has to tilt upwards. Like there is a distinct, the gun doesn't function if you put it in a vise, like it wouldn't cycle.
Yeah.
It has to have some upward mobility. I think it's worse, more of a training scar, for lack of a better term, with a pistol, because an airsoft pistol recoils so little you don't ever lose a sight picture during recoil, which you do with a real gun. But with a rifle, you don't normally lose the target during recoil with AR. So the fact that the AR, like, it doesn't, if it didn't kick at all, I wouldn't care.
Yeah. But yeah, it actually, man, it's like, it's weird because it's like the impulse doesn't feel the same, but it shakes around enough for it to feel the same. It's weird, but yeah, I honestly, like, it kind of hurt when I bought it. I'm like, am I really dropping $1,000 into this? Because I also bought like I put BCM furniture on it and a fake Unity mount, which I think is a must-have for a airsoft rifle, because you can, like, my brother and I were shooting each other the other day, and I can still see my optic when I'm using it with a mask. But yeah, like, it kind of hurt, because I put probably like $1,000 into it. But the fact that I've shot 2,000 BBs in my yard, I didn't have to go to the range, and I'm able to
$600 in ammo.
Yeah. So I'm like, it basically paid for itself this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I have an electric, same as TJ there, Crytac, downstairs in my office, and put furniture on it, and I think there's a Vortex red dot on it. I didn't like go all out mimicking any of my real guns, but I went more than I could have. The only thing I didn't change out, it was the stock, because it's an electric gun, so it's got to have a battery somewhere, and it's in the stock. So the stock's got to have like the fat fucking like cheek weld, like the old B5 fucking SOP mod stocks, so that there's room for the rechargeable lithium ion polymer batteries to go in there. It's all right. I don't use it much. Probably because the battery's dead every time I want to use it, and I can't shoot it in my yard, so I can't just grab it and go.
Yeah.
So I still got to go somewhere. I have the joy of living in the swamp like you. Hey, Sonny just checked in.
What's up, Sonny?
So the airsoft, though, we got on that because of the 3 classes in April. And are those live on your website right now?
Yes. Go to combatortraining.com, click on train, force on force train. And
perfect.
You have to add all 3 to the cart individually right now. I think I'll put up all 3 as one, also an option later. But yeah, they're live right now, and they'll be live on your site eventually too.
Probably sometime tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm really excited about Art of the Bad Guy, especially because it's like, when you do scenario classes, it's like one of the things with it is it's like the bad guy's not trying to go as hard as they can, right? And also they're scripted on what they're supposed to do. So it's really, and those classes are important because they're decision-making classes more than anything, in my opinion. But it's also that, okay, once you've gone through the decision-making process, like, they're not trying to go as hard as they can at you. They understand what you're going through right now. They've been there. They're just trying to push you to make the correct decisions. And, So getting a chance in all 3 days to fight someone going as hard as they can, but especially in this now, because every time you're a good guy, you are coming into a scenario. Every time you're the bad guy, you're in a scenario, and you might just get drawn into a scenario as a bystander too. You know, one of the things with it too is if you think about it, if it was a violent attack, it's probably going to be an ambush, right?
Mhm.
You're probably not going to get that many clues that it's coming. I just finished both of Varg Freeborn's books, and they're really good. Violence of Mind. I think you're supposed to read that one first. It's really good. And then my favorite was Beyond OODA Loop. And I'm going to say that's recommended reading for specifically Art of the Bad Guy. But that was written by a dude who grew up in a criminal family. Like he grew up with criminal activity, went to a prison, and then he got into the training world. And now I don't know.
Cool.
I don't think he's doing that much training anymore. I'm gonna try to get in contact with him and see if I can set something up. But
Yeah, because he's in your neck of the woods.
yeah, he's over there. Like he's not far from me at all. Like even I was listening to a podcast he did, and he was talking about, you know, like dealing with homeless guys in St. Augustine and shit. I'm like, yeah, like that's literally where I've been and dealt with homeless guys.
Nice. All right, so that's what we got happening up here. We did mention I'm coming down there. We're going to do the master class the first weekend of March, and then a shooting and moving workshop on the second Saturday. And I got a private thing that Sunday with some other fine folks. But in between, there's a couple of days, and our plan is to film some content. I think now would probably be a fine time for people to start letting us know what kind of content we should work on during those days that we have.
Yes.
Because we could do like a 3-hour video on how to clear an inline stovepipe in a Canic. Or we could do something way cooler. But if the guys out there say, hey, I'd really like to know the science behind inline stovepipes in my TP9 SF or whatever the fuck the Canic numbers are, I mean, I guess they could tell us, and we could maybe, you know, maybe I'm not saying cater to them, but maybe redirect towards the things that they're looking towards.
Oh, sweet. Well, if you want, Casey, if you want to ride with me up to PA, let me know. He's one of the dudes who's done a bunch of shit with me.
Coming all the way up here. Look at that.
Yeah. Worked on. Yeah, Sonny. I talked
Sonny's
to him the other day.
People.
Yeah, he's like he's got like 50 videos that he's editing right now, and I'm like, yeah, well, I want to see those. I'm like, I have such great talks with you. I need to. I want more.
So I made a small commitment today to do more videos. Little commitment, like I said the words, I'm going to do more videos, because I haven't really said those words a lot, but a lot of people have been saying them to me. But I am probably, I can't use, so my desktop computer has Adobe Premiere Elements 15 in it, which is from 2015. Like I purchased the program. They don't do purchased programs anymore at Adobe. They only do subscriptions, which bugs the fuck out of me because I like buying something and owning it. That whole you'll own nothing and you'll be happy subscription model life isn't what I'm about. So I did download today on my laptop. I'm thinking about going to using my laptop because it's way more powerful than my desktop because it's a fucking like 7 years newer. But I can't move that program over because I don't have I can't reinstall. I can't. They won't let me download it again. So I was like, I'm gonna have to get a different program. So I downloaded DaVinci Resolve because I can buy it and own it forever. They have a free version, and I was watching some videos on how to use it today, and I decided that if I was gonna edit videos more seriously, my workstation at my desk was not ideal. I have 2 monitors, but one of them is like a Samsung TV, so there's no proper resolution coming out of my PC for the television. So I end up using the other monitor. Anyhow, I ordered a second monitor that was like the little one. I'm getting rid of the TV. I'm going to start using my laptop. And I was like, all right, I bought something. Like I spent money. I threw my hat over the fence, as my grandfather used to say. I've downloaded software. I bought a second monitor so that I have a easier workflow. Plus, it's the laptop, so I'll technically have 3 monitors. I was like, all right, I guess I gotta earn the money I'm spending, and I gotta go make some videos.
Right. If you find you don't like that program, we've been using CapCut, especially on the phone. On iPhone, CapCut is awesome.
I don't record anything with my phone unless dire circumstances happen. Back when I worked at Tactical Response, on one particular day, with camcorder batteries that were not charged properly, I and Jordan both filmed stuff on phones because we went out to the range to film some stuff, and both of us lost footage because the phone decided in the middle of recording that some other action took precedence, like incoming phone calls. And it stopped the recording on his iPhone, and later that day did the same thing because I was like, I got a Samsung. No shit, like 2 hours later, somebody fucking called and it stopped recording so that the fucking phone call could come through. And I can't argue, because if I have a phone and I'm out somewhere, its number one priority is to be a communications device with people.
Yeah.
So if something has to override everything else, it should be comms. But it made me go, well, I don't want to fucking film on this thing, because like I got to do that again. Like I got to go set up more targets without bullet holes in them, and then go put the fucking camera back out there. And this time I have to also hit like as well as I did last time, which is because I just fucking close my eyes and fucking yank on the trigger.
Yeah, close your eyes and let fly.
So I was like, I try not to use my phone for much. Although I filmed a video at XS and had to use my phone because I took all my shit down there, my DSLR, microphones, tripod, and there was no memory card in the camera. And when I opened my camera bag to get I have a little Pelican case full of memory cards. It's sitting on my desk downstairs. It wasn't with me in Texas. So I also didn't have a phone holder on a tripod, but they had one there. So I basically took theirs, and it has like the little bendy legs, and I wrapped it around my DSLR and had my phone. And then plugged our microphones into my phone. I didn't even know if that was going to work because I'd never used it that way before. And turns out it did. And I was like, I'm fucking never doing this again. So part of that was the DSLR. It was meant to film YouTube videos, but I would also use it during the live streams. So it was always getting moved back and forth. And last week, I decided that I would set a live stream camera set up just for live streams. And that's what we're looking at right now, is a whole new set, a new camera. There's a fucking teleprompter in front of that camera so I can see the comments. And then I have a small monitor below that where I can see if Andrew and I are in frame, and a laptop over here that has all my notes on it. And I even bought a stream deck with no idea what I was going to use it for or why, but it was a bargain if I packaged them all together. So far I have one button programmed in that to mute my mic, because that was me trying to figure out how to program buttons. But I went through all this live stream bullshit so that I could dedicate the camera that I used to use for live streaming just for going to film videos. So it's
awesome.
Like it's set up and ready to go film things instead of me having to tear down a live stream tomorrow and then go pack all of it up to go to the range.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really throwing your hat over the fence.
Yeah, I've spent money in the last week on 2 different setups. So
well,
that,
you also changed your setup, so now you have it easier to do, and now it's like now you got to really, really justify it.
yeah, like I spent cash. I have to make it worthwhile, and I don't have the excuse of I got to tear all that shit down. I
Yeah.
took a picture of it and sent it to Andrew. I'll see if I can't bring it back up on screen for the people watching. So this maybe that is what my current live stream setup looks like. So yes, that is a whole plethora of monitors in front of me. Now, how do I turn that off? There we go. And that top monitor, there's a camera behind it. So I'm actually looking at the chat right now where RJ said I was fancy.
Real quick, Sonny said he's got a video dropping tomorrow, so everyone watch that. And then there's a question from Chris. What are your thoughts on Colt AR-15s in 2024? Thanks. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I think you'll probably be fine. You'd probably have to clean it more than more expensive guns, but Gary has taken a lot of data on guns he's seen, so I'm interested in what you have to say about that.
So I have a system set up. I have an approved list of pistols and an approved list of rifles. And to get on the approved list, you have to have 10 unique samples, make it through a 2-day / 1,000 round class with no malfunctions at all, unless it was us teaching malfunctions where we would set them up on purpose. And I pretty much pulled that from my regular 2-day curriculum and put it in a separate workshop. So that doesn't happen much nowadays, but it used to quite a bit. So anyhow, with the rifles, there have been six manufacturers get on the list, and one of them got kicked back off the list. Because the deal is with the 10 unique samples, if you have one that has malfunctions, I need an additional 10 samples to negate the one that had problems. So if you have one with problems, I'll essentially need 20 rifles. If you have 5 with problems, I'm going to need 60 rifles. So anyhow, my point with all of that is currently there are 5 approved rifles on that list. Direct impingement ARs, there are 5. The brands are Midwest Industries, Sons of Liberty Gunworks, Lewis Machine and Tool, BCM, and Colt. So I would buy a Colt with no qualms whatsoever. I know they don't have a current contract with the military, so they're not required to follow the TDP. And they're without a contract, they're not even supposed to be in possession of the written technical data package for the M4, but they've been building them for 1,000 years, so they don't need to see it written down to know what all the tolerances and specs are. So I feel confident still in buying a Colt as I would any of those other 4 companies. And then when people say, well, what about this other company? I'm not saying that they didn't make it. A lot of times it's because I just haven't seen the correct numbers. So when somebody says, what about my Sun Devil ARs? I'm like, man, I've only ever seen Sun Devil parts. I didn't know if they make a complete AR.
Yeah, my only nitpicky thing was like with like a standard mil-spec gun, I've broken a buffer tube and I've broken charging handles. So I just make sure the buffer tube and the charging handle are made of 70-75. And that's my only thing. I'd be like, yeah, change those. But even that, it's like, are you really gonna break it? I don't know. But like, if you overbend the cartridge demonstrating mortaring a rifle and why, you might fucking break it. That's how I did it.
Yeah. I have bent some charging handles. I've seen some buffer tubes bent. They don't work when they get a bend in them.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan at this point of the A5 buffer system. I won't own a new rifle. I won't get a new rifle without one for my own personal use. and some of my older ones are slowly getting swapped over. It's not a priority for me, but if I got spare funds floating around, and rather than buying a 19th fucking Sig 365, I'll upgrade a couple rifles to make them a little more reliable. And that's my biggest thing about the A5 buffer system is it does make most guns more reliable by running it. So the fact that it also shoots nicer is just a bonus.
See, that's a thing you should do a video on too. Because I looked into videos on the A5 and there isn't good videos on it.
Fuck. Andrew.
So you just have to explain all the stuff you said right there in another video.
Yeah. And what works out well is I have two SBRs that are almost identical. Same furniture, same optics, both got a can on the end. The only difference is the laser illuminators and the buffer system. So like I have two pretty distinctly same guns, one with the carbine buffer, one with the A5, and I could probably use that in my demonstration. Like it's like all the pieces have fallen together for me to talk about it.
Yeah. And now your camera's in the bag ready to go with the SD card somewhere else.
Well, the SD card's in it now. I have fixed that up. So, who up here? Let me go over to somebody. Is that your friend Casey?
Yep.
Pure Ballistics. Have you run any Ballistic Advantage? I have not. I can't say I've ever seen in class a full Ballistic Advantage rifle. I know that you can buy an everything labeled Ballistic Advantage, which is essentially a Arrow. Arrow Precision owns Ballistic Advantage. I have seen an assload of Ballistic Advantage barrels, and a bunch of my rifles have those. And I've seen a bunch of Arrow parts, but mostly not even complete Arrow rifles. Probably only like 3 or 4 of those, and they didn't have any problems. So I would feel confident in anything that they make. Certainly barrel wise, I've built a lot of rifles with Ballistic Advantage barrels. They and Criterion are my go-to barrels. I think the Criterion probably is a little bit better of a barrel, but it's also a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, I'm excited to see with that project I have coming up with the 12.5 mid-length to see how a A5 runs on it.
Yeah, I think you'll if you have something comparable to compare it to, because like when you go home, when you shoot a rifle and then you go home and tear it apart and add something to it and go back to the range later, like a week later or even a day later, and you shoot it, you're like, I don't know if it's any different.
Yeah,
because it's hard to compare.
I was gonna compare it with a Super 42 setup, and then I don't know, like a carbine buffer.
Yeah, if you got
frame.
something similar to compare it to at the same time, you'll go, oh, what is that? How about that? And what I really like is if you have a gun with the correct size gas port in the barrel, or a little oversized or a little undersized, like the window is a little bigger there, and you have an A5 buffer with an H2, the A5 H2 buffer in it, it'll probably run fucking everything. Like it opens, the A5 opens the window for reliability on the gas port sides of the barrel. So as that erodes and gets bigger, you'll still have a functioning gun longer into its lifespan, which I think is like the prime reason it makes the gun run more reliably. Also, when you shoot it, it's like shooting, it feels more close to, like if you take a 16-inch AR with a carbine gas system and a carbine buffer and shoot that, and then shoot one with the carbine gas system and A5, you'll think it's like shooting a 20-inch gun with the rifle, with a rifle, everything. It'll remind you more of that than it will carbine.
Now, okay, real quick, there's 2 questions. I think that's RJ, right? Robert.
Yes.
News. Okay. He asked, what's the longest shot we'll have on Sunday? And then Volter A5, right?
Yes. Veltor, however you pronounce it. They're the ones that came up with that. And what's cool is everyone says, oh, the buffer tubes are out of stock. I hear that a lot. I can't find a tube. So the tube is not Veltor. I still don't know how to pronounce it.
Veltor.
They did not create the buffer tube. It's a 308 buffer tube. So any AR-10 buffer tube is the A5 buffer tube. And it uses a rifle length spring. So they didn't invent that either. The only thing that they came up with was the science of the size and weight of the buffer itself.
Yeah, it's it and I wasn't that into like that type of stuff going on in the gun at first, but since I adopted your shooting on the move technique with the rifle, now I'm very interested in, smoothing out the recoil would be nice if it does that, but I'm also very interested in just getting a gun that balances super well.
Yeah.
Because it just makes it all around easier. My airsoft gun is fucking heavy on purpose too, to make it harder, but like, that's one thing I see with like that rifle that I took through your class with the pencil barrel is I'm like, dude, it's so much easier with this gun just because it's light as fuck and it's not doing that number as I move as much.
Yeah.
Like I want
I say before we go too far to answer his question, 50 yards.
Oh yeah. And then Tom Holybee is in here. I want him to take your rifle classes. He doesn't even really like rifles, but I think you could change his perspective on that.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I
didn't know he didn't like rifles, and the reason I say that is because when he blew up all over the internet, he was holding a rifle.
No, he doesn't not like him. He's just like, I can move way better with a pistol, because he's trained a lot with Sonny. So
yeah.
So they're very similar like that. What the fuck was I going to say? I don't know. But yeah. That getting a balanced gun is like kind of a thing that I'm looking at doing with that 12 and a half inch gun. Oh yeah. That's what I was going to say. So I use cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
That our favorite phrase. One thing it'd be really cool to do a video on would be just like take an old house and just shoot the fuck out of it and just show everything that bullets penetrate. Reed Hendricks did this a long time ago.
I remember him doing that video.
Yeah, but he didn't shoot it that much. But the kind of the point around this, where I'm going with it, is I feel like use of cover is kind of overemphasized in a way. Okay. Now, I'm not saying don't use cover, of course, but number one, it's like, how long do you even have cover? Because as soon as the guy moves, and he changes his position on you, now you have to work it a different way anyways. Yep. But also, what the fuck out there is actually good cover that's around you constantly?
I'm going to give you a little window into something we're going to do at the muster, and hopefully we're going to film it. I just don't know. I've already put the block in. I just don't want to teach it myself. So I'm trying to find some other sucker to run it for me. And I'm kind of busy that weekend. So regardless, we're doing 90-minute blocks this year. And one of the blocks is going to have a laboratory where we're going to shoot different parts. We're going to recreate and then shoot different parts of homes.
Okay, cool.
So we're going to make like an interior wall, and two sets of drywall with 2x4 studs in between them. We're going to do an exterior wall, which will have like some wood, some siding, studs, drywall on the inside, bathroom walls that have tile on them, shit like that. And we're going to build a bunch of those in smaller pieces. and then we're going to go shoot them as part of the block, one of the blocks of instruction. And something I want to do is like for the drywall, I want to get pieces made up so that we can shoot them straight through and see if they go through like 2 pieces of drywall. But then I also want to take a second one, which will have to be a little bigger in case of deflection, and put it like 12 feet away. So what does a bullet do when it goes through this wall when it hits that wall? Because we can see a hole in this and go, all right, it went through, but what was it doing when it came out the other side? Was it going 2,800 feet a second, laser straight, or was it going 30 feet a second backwards? I guess we'll go with the teaser trailer. It's somewhere in between there. But it'll get people to see like, oh, so it'll go through X amount of interior walls. At some point, it will stop going through interior walls. And then I want to shoot them at angles. So like what happens when we shoot it at an oblique enough angle that we're going to hit a stud. I know they're 16 inches apart, but if you go enough of an angle, you're going to hit 1 or 2 or potentially 3. Like all of a sudden at that angle, does it become more cover than it was straight on? Almost like a chain link fence. You can see right through a chain link fence until you stand right beside it and look down it, and it looks So I want to do a bunch of that at the muster, and then potentially also film that so that there's some content afterwards. I'm just trying to find some poor sucker out there to run that 90-minute block.
Casey, Pure Ballistics is literally a YouTube channel that he started to do that type of stuff.
Oh,
he just started
awesome.
it. Yeah.
And I don't have to film it. I just have to do it at the muster.
All right. So Casey, you're doing that. Make plans for the muster. But yeah, that like we were messing around a little bit with some ballistics gel and just testing, like he was testing some Defiant ammo. And then I happened to have my musket with me, right? So 20-inch barrel M16, we called it a musket in the Marine Corps. And
I'm surprised you have a real musket or that, but
but yeah, shot that, and I was like, God damn! Like, it is funny how every time I pick up that gun, the only thing now I don't like about it, because I'm so spoiled with a cachet gun, that it's just a little bit heavier. That's the only thing I don't like about it. But like the recoil is fucking nothing, and the ballistics are pretty damn good.
Well, so I have a bunch of gel here. It's the clear ballistics, so you can remelt it and use it over again. So cool. I want to get some of that set up so we can use that at the muster. Like, after it goes through a bathroom wall, blah, 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 blah. But something else I want to do is I want to, and I know 10% ballistic gel is only an approximation of the average, like, cross section of tissue in a human being.
So we're going to get a guy high on fentanyl.
But what I would like to do is show you what bullets do after they exit flesh against other shit. Like, so everyone wants to see, well, what's the bullet do when it goes through drywall and hits ballistic gel? Nobody ever asks, once it goes through the ballistic gel, what does it do to the drywall?
Yeah.
Because if your plan is, well, if all my bullets go in the bad guy, I don't have to worry about what's behind my target. Yeah, well, that may or may not be true.
Yeah, and it's interesting too when you talk to like cops coming up on scenes and stuff. Like Zach Bush specifically has some stories about that. But it is like some rounds are fucking useless after they enter one person.
Yeah, and is that the ammo you want? Then maybe. Like when we all talk about how awesome like 855 A1 is, that tungsten tip, like it penetrates a lot of shit. But if you have that in your fucking bump in a night gun, know that nothing in your house is going to stop bullets from like going into other rooms, including bad guys.
Yeah.
Like unless your bad guy's fucking super fat.
But
if
like
he leaves his mom's basement after watching like, Twitch videos all night and then breaks into your house and he's having like an asthma attack. Maybe that dude will stop 855 A1. Like the guy with the neck beard.
Yeah, what I was kind of thinking with the like what even is real good cover is like there is some shit that's really good cover around you, you know, but it's very like sparse, and a lot of times too, a lot of that stuff is really low to the ground. So it's like the lower you get, the less mobility you have, which really, really makes you easy to kill. You see in force on force, like
Yep.
I'm like now in class, I'm like, hey, you can do kneeling, but like, you know, and we just do a couple exercises. It's showing like, all right, when you see me, I want you to fucking try to get away from me and gain cover again, you know? And it's like, it's not easy when the lower to the ground you get. You want to stay on 2 feet as much as possible. But the other thing is that it's like, dude, there's such a low emphasis on movement. And I've heard in class, like, shooting on the move doesn't make you harder to shoot. And I'm like that's not correct. You know, it's a moving target. Like, and I heard a guy recently say, like, I would never do shooting on the move more than 5 feet. And I'm like, yeah, you should probably do force on force and change your perspective. And also, again, looking around, like anywhere you go there, it's not so much cover that you have to work with. It's more ballistic barriers. Now, a guy's a lot less likely to try to shoot through stuff to hit you, like on average.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just not a good thing to count on. And again, kind of like, and I guess it's good I wrote that thing on the fighting variables, and it's kind of watching force on force is helping me contextualize this a lot better. But it's like, it's more like ballistic barriers that you're working with and your position and trying to give his position a disadvantage. But it's like, you know, I consider it like a barrier. Like, it's going to degrade the round, hopefully break it apart and make it way slower, you know?
Yep.
And hopefully not on the normal path, but it's not like, you know, like I'll ask in class when there's a berm behind me, what's the best piece of cover out here? And they're like, the car. I'm like, nope. Like, that's what I specifically want to do, is just shoot a fucking car with an AK, you know? Like,
well, we do that
think that's
in our vehicle class.
Yeah.
We do at the end of day 2, we do a ballistic lab. We shoot through the glass early, but we shoot through the car at the very end of the second day, so that there isn't a bunch of sharp metal edges while we're getting in and out of it. The glass we have to shoot early or it's going to get shot anyhow. So we might as well do it with some science behind it before we inadvertently shoot it up. But we do that with a car and anything anybody wants to bring. And then we shoot all the parts that we can shoot of it. Mm-hmm. At the last class we did that in, it was in October, I think. It might have been November. We're in November, so it must have been October. In October, we'd had a vehicle class, and Shinde brought a Barrett out, and we shot 50s through the vehicle, including one black tip AP round. And that Mercedes inline fucking 6-cylinder motor, the engine block, stopped every fucking 50 cal round we shot at it. Now, it didn't survive. Like, there was big chunks of fucking motor missing. But yeah, a little fucking Mercedes inline 6 fucking stopped AP 50 cal, which says it's literally cover, but it's also like this big.
Yeah, and it's off the ground.
Yeah, it's hovering in the middle. Like, you can't you'll be above it and below it.
Yeah, I think like a whole day of force on force based around vehicles would be great. That should be like
we do that in day 4 vehicle, which is Adeptus vehicle.
Okay.
So we have 4, like carbine, pistol, and vehicle. We have like a 4-day program. All of those, the first 2 days is one class, and then day 3 of all of them, and then the 4th day is called something else for all of them. Whether it be a smash mouth pistol, team dynamics, and carbine, or Adeptus vehicle for vehicle. But we have a 4-day, like, pretty set in system for that.
I need to get, because I want to fill my yard with 4Runners. I need to get one of them that I can just remove the windshield from and put it back on to keep the bugs out.
Well, if you use it for force on force, I don't know about airsoft because I haven't tested this, but we did test it with UTM. We found that a sheet of the thinner, clear painter's drop cloth and murder plastic. We would throw that over, pull it tight so you can see through it pretty well. And what we used was some neodymium or whatever fucking the rare earth magnets and put them on the A pillars so it would hold it flat so that you could still see through it and rounds would go through it, but they would not go through it well like it was glass.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then when it got shot up enough you couldn't see it, you would just cut it. You know, we left the roll hanging and then just slide more of the roll over, almost like a tear off on goggles.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where we're at on like props and stuff within the next couple of years. Because like just like we were just talking about too, like a drill I've never done in any sort of training ever, you know, would be all right. The dude ran behind something. Now shoot through the thing to get him. And that should be a thing we're constantly doing in force on force.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, yes, there's the know your target, what's in between, around, beyond. But there's also like, if I can fucking put them down now, and I'm very, very fucking certain, you know, beyond a reasonable doubt that there's no one else that's going to get hurt in the process, that should be a thing that's practiced. And I think it's like a totally missing skill unless like the dude's in fucking house to house fighting in a war, you know.
We used the shoot house years ago when I was working at Rockwell. I won't mention the name of it because fuck those guys. But in the shoot house, they had a wall that was framed, and they did not have wood on it. And they would use like the big rolls of like packing paper, you know, the shit like Amazon crumbles up, and they would just put it down over it and staple it in place. So that there was a wall that you could shoot through with sim rounds.
But does airsoft break through that at all?
I don't know. We never used airsoft there, and I've had a shoot house where I could recreate that.
Yeah.
Every shoot house I've used, like all the walls are, you know, frame, not just frame. They also are not usually drywall. Usually it's plywood, but nobody left me like with just a frame for me to put up. You know, some type of paper product. But if I had access to my own shoot house, like, so if there's some rich patron out there who would like to make that happen and, you know, be our sugar daddy, I will make a shoot house that will have some walls like that. I'd make a whole paper room.
Yeah.
So we could, in fact, I might make it one of the rooms so you could go like remove the plywood and put the paper up and use it both ways.
Yeah.
As needed. We just need somebody with a big fat checkbook to get on board. Contact me via any of the social media links with your routing number, and we'll.
Farms and fitness, force on force. I honestly think everyone should experience. I did one years back at Tactical Response. I might be due for another. Yeah, dude. Like we were just talking about how was it April 19th? Yep, April 19th to the 21st on the screen right there. We're going to be doing Proving Grounds Pistol, Killing Fields, and then Art of the Bad Guy. So you should go up to PA and take those. I'll do it. I'll do Proving Grounds eventually at Tactical Response, and we're doing Proving Grounds in Kentucky in February, but you're going to get 3 days of force on force up in PA, and it's going to be different than the fight because this one is just fighting the whole way through. So it's like you'll get in like 200 gunfights in a weekend.
Yeah. Which is also, I think, better certainly on our pocketbooks running airsoft than UTM or Sims.
Yeah,
because it costs a lot less. But I also think they're less punishing. So, you know, if you were wearing the hoodie that I'm wearing, and I shoot you with an airsoft pistol, you'll hear it more than you'll feel it. And if I shoot you with a sim round, it'll probably still draw blood. So,
yeah, I don't know, man. When my last scenario at Science of the Dynamic Violence, I was getting shot from both at the same time. I could not tell the difference. And that made me go, yeah, airsoft is fine for force on force. I was just like, fuck you, Lewis. You know, like,
Yep.
And I was like, all right, I can't tell the difference.
Well,
Like,
I got 2 sim round marks on my left bicep. Well, UTM rounds from that same weekend. They're still bright pink scars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like they broke skin and bled, and they're still like every time I take my shirt off, there's these 2 big fucking pink spots.
I got one right there.
Awesome. All right. Well, anything else we want to talk about before we crash out of here? We've been on here for an hour and a half.
Get better at shooting on the move. Gary has classes on that. I have a class on that. No one ever wants to take it, surprisingly, even though it's like every time we do a shooting on the move drill in a class, people say that was their favorite part. I'm like, but where'd
you see that?
My thing. What's that?
Who said that? Where is it? I don't see the.
No. I said, just get better.
I thought you were answering someone who asked about it.
No. Just
it looked like you were reading it, and I was like, hey, wait, what?
Most cover is not real cover, and also as soon as the dude changes position, you don't have cover anymore, anyways. But moving generally gets you shot less because it is harder.
The data says that's the case. I mean, I know some people out there have their feels, and they tell you they don't feel like it would help, but the data suggests otherwise.
Yep. But yeah, that's all I got. Sign up for Pistol Skills 1 Pistol Cheat Codes and Red Dot Pistol in December up at PA, and then Gary's gonna come down here. So all my Florida people, you need to fucking train with Gary. He has changed a lot of the things I do, and he's done a lot of training himself. And then one thing I tell people is the dudes that are still taking classes, their classes, they got some extra goodness to them. Like you can tell the difference.
Yep. It's I might not ask it publicly, but that's the thing I want to know about every instructor I'm about to spend money on is what was the last class they paid for to go to?
Mm-hmm.
And not so much when was it? Like if they're like, oh, like 3 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. Okay. If the answer is like 2.5 years. Then I'm not so sure. Yep, but I agree on those counts. And so I guess with that, we can call it a night and go back to doing whatever we're doing. I can maybe write some more ideas down for videos that I think I should be doing, even though I probably will do them less than I intend to.
I'll send you my video list, and maybe you can draw an idea from that.
I don't want a list. I want you to tell me, dude, everything has been great. Like you don't need to do anymore. I want someone to tell me that, even if they don't mean it.
You're doing a great job. Keep doing more.
Wait, not more. I just scrolled back up to see. Sonny said he filmed 8 hours of stuff during the 2.5 class, deep class. First video public tomorrow, then restricted videos for special peoples. I am one of those special peoples.
Yep, me too.
I am in his Tree Fitty Club.
Yep. Yeah, Casey is too.
Bunch of good dudes in here then. Hooking Sonny up. All right, well, then I guess we can get out of here. We'll call it a day, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday, I hope. And like 2 weeks after that, hopefully I'll see a bunch of you up here in PA with Andrew. That would be awesome.
Yes, sir.
All right,
man.
And we're gonna get out of here, and you all take it easy. I think I'm gonna get out of here.